start looking at the socioeconomic platform of who these people are. They own a home, which means they own 2 cars, which means they have a motorcycle and a trailer. So instead of 1 to 2 policies that we can put in place or 2 exposures, we went to 5 to 6 in a heartbeat, just by targeting people that would buy that Harley Davidson.
How did you operationalize this? Because I'm assuming that this is right about the time your agency really started to grow.
We just trained on coverage. If you look at a standard motorcycle policy, it has accessories or upgrades coverage, typically at about $1,000. We're just going to move you up. Automatically going to go, listen, your accessories and upgrades coverage is another $3,000 to $5,000. Yes, we're $10 more. This is why.
I'm curious to pull the thread a little bit on the carrier side. For the carriers that are doing a really good job right now, what are they doing differently?
I would say that the thing that carriers are doing well is
Patrick, I'm super excited to have you on the show. And one of the areas where I wanted to kick this off was, tell us about giving your cell phone number out to clients.
First of all, my professional recommendation is don't ever. And train your clients to understand why. I know that we are an industry that says you can contact me, that personal service is what is supposed to differentiate us from the big boxes, the 800 numbers and all of that. Build a process inside your agency that means that cell phone number is not, your customer service is not predicated on your cell phone number as a human, as an agency owner, whoever you are. So we were in our second year of owning the agency, and we were growing really well at this point. So kind of jumping into why. I was going on vacation with my wife. It was just me in the office at this point. And it just started our second year. When I went on vacation, the office was closed, right? Like this what it was. And my wife was our office manager. So even more so, or any other employee I had, we gave her the fancy title. But every employee we had was on vacation with me at the exact same time. So one of our clients had been with us for about a month and a half or so, really talkative guy. I love this client. He's still with us all these years later. And we had just talked about how he had come back from Gulf Shores, Alabama. And we were, in fact, going to Gulf Shore, Alabama. He was thrilled. We talked for an hour and a half on a Thursday that this is what happened, that we were going there. We drive down, we meet some friends, and we go to dinner at a little place called The Hangout, right there on Gulf Shores Boulevard, like on the coast. There's a beach there. They have a private beach and a bubble party and all this stuff for our kids. We meet our friends. We're having dinner. We're looking out at the ocean or the Gulf at that point, and having a great time. And we're leaving dinner. Spent all day in the car to drive down there. We had dinner. Everyone's tired. We're going to go back to the hotel. We're going to sleep. And my phone rings, and it's him. And I'm like, we're getting kids in the car. I'll if it's important, I'll call back. And he calls back right away. And I'm like, the dude knows I'm on vacation. It's a Saturday, right? So this has only been 2 days since we spoke for an hour and a half. He calls again. And I'm like, okay, I'm getting the kids in the car. Like, let's buckle car seats and do the things that need to happen. And then I'll call him back. So I ignore the call again. And immediately he calls back a third time. It's Saturday. It's 7 p.m. Gulf Shore time. So it's 6 p.m. local time. So there is not even a chance that our office is open during normal hours on a normal day if I'm not on vacation. I pick up the phone and look at my wife across the van and I say, somebody died. I have to take this call, right? There's zero reason a client calls you 3 times in a row without a break unless someone died. Or the good student discount fell off because he never sent in a report card.
Oh, man.
And I'm not kidding. He's like, hey, the good student discount fell off. Like, answer the phone like, hey, it's Patrick. What's up, man? What's going on? Like, everybody okay? Like, I'm panicked. I think that something's wrong. I'm fearful for what's going on in his life and his family and his son and his wife. And I'm like, hey, man, is everybody okay? He's like, yeah, everybody's good. Hey, the good student discount came off. How come? Did you send in the documents? No, I didn't yet. I'm not even sure I could explain how calm I may or may not have been at that moment. I mean, I have never given my cell phone out since. We immediately put a practice into place, put a process into place. And if you need something, like here's our after hours, like you can text this line. Our phone stops ringing at a certain point in the day if you need something. If it's an emergency, text. I see all the texts. If it's an emergency, I'll call you back. If it's a billing issue, I'm going to handle it on Monday.
Yeah.
And we started to train our clients in that way. But I am staunchly against, beyond the E&O reasons and tracking phone calls and text messages and being able to record all that and keep it inside of our AMS and have all that for backup. My cell phone is my cell phone. That's Patrick's property. That's Patrick's person. So that is one of the key and early lessons I had to live to experience. And I have not given my cell phone number out to a client since.
It's so interesting when I hear that. One, it's a hilarious story. But two is it's not an easy move to do in the early stages of the business, because you feel like you have to do that. You feel like you have to respond to everything. If you don't, you'll lose all your clients, or you'll build a reputation for somebody that's not responsive, or whatever it may be. Was that kind of what was going through your head in that moment?
Oh, 100%. I mean, you've just finished your first year. I don't know anybody that does incredibly well and has all the money in the world at their end of the first year, unless they started, how do you end the first year in business with a small fortune? Is you start off with a bigger one. So it's, we built ourselves on being different than all the other guys. And here I am making a play that makes me more like them. And for this particular client, he still has my cell phone. He has not called me since. We had a healthy conversation. I'm like, hey man, I'm glad I was able to help. I'm glad I was able to calm some fears. But that was definitely something that could have waited till Monday. He's like, yeah, I know. I just wanted to get it off my chest. I'm like, cool. Text me. Text is always a big thing. So we transitioned a lot to text, and I'm a little more responsive through text, even through our agency after hours than maybe some would say we should be. I kind of, our ethos in the office is we're only open for 40 hours a week, and all of our staff gets an hour lunch. So they're really only here for 35 hours, but I pay them a salary based on 40, and it's commensurate to a 40-hour salary with everything else that we do. And one of the first conversations I have with our team when they come on board, and I just said it today with a new producer, was I expect 40 hours of work every single week. Sometimes that's not going to happen. And sometimes you're going to work 50 and it's going to balance out. But I expect 40 hours of work during the week. And that's coming in early to get something ready for a meeting at 9. That's staying a little late to make sure that task gets done, or that service ticket gets completed, that billing issue is solved.
Mm-hmm.
We're only asking you to be here 35 plus a lunch. But I expect 40 hours worth of work. And sometimes that comes with answering a text at 8 o'clock at night because they finally have a minute and they're off work, or they work nights and they're finally awake or something. That's going to be one of those pieces. So having a little more flexibility with our texting without bleeding too far into your family time is important for me. But that's how we do it. So you don't have to worry about giving out your cell phone number. And I we're really careful with that, even with our producers and the team that we have and hire. Don't give out your cell phone number. Please, God, don't.
Because no matter what, you're going to feel obligated to answer.
You are.
Even if you put those hard boundaries in place, whatever that might be, you can't, it's hard to not feel that obligation. Okay. So, one of the things that, you mentioned this specifically, you said that, you wanted to do things differently, and that's a lot of how we got originally introduced. And they said, you've got to talk with Patrick. He's going to have strong opinions, and he's a really sharp guy. And I really enjoyed our initial conversation, and that's why I want to bring you on. And as we get into the weeds here, one of the things that I really wanted to dive into was when we spoke, you talked about a niche focus that you had on going after owners of Harley Davidson motorcycles. And my first thought was, all right, that's pretty unique. I mean, those are expensive, but I just didn't anticipate like a biker gang being like, that was the niche that you focused on. But as I'm thinking about it, I'm like, Okay. And then you quickly were like, well, I'm not targeting biker gangs,
Right.
but
Right. The one percenters are not the percent I'm looking for. Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So where did this start?
So I actually grew up in the kind of in the motorcycle world. My dad, who passed away when I was very, very young, and I never knew him personally, but he rode motocross for Honda. My grandfather rode motocross for Honda, like all these things back into the early and mid '60s up through the late '70s. My family was involved in this, and as a child, because my mom was widowed at such a young age. And my dad did not pass away through anything to do with motorcycles, but this level of fear was there. So I never got to be too involved with motorcycles, but I was always around the kind of that world. And my grandfather was part of a motorcycle club, not a gang, right?
Yeah, exactly. I
Yeah,
should clarify. I do not
yeah,
mean that all motorcycle clubs are gangs.
yeah, for sure. They're all enthusiasts, though.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
always the
100%.
joke. Yeah. So I kind of grew up around it. And it was actually a couple of years ago, I just went out on St. Patrick's Day. I went out and bought a motorcycle. And my wife was mad, mad. She was so mad. And I bought it and it was cold. And I rode it an hour home. Like she had to drive me back up there to buy it and drive it home. And it was so cold. I was freezing the whole way home. And she looked at me like, that's what you get. So I had to tell her and find a reason, really, I had to find a reason why this was going to be a business expense or business related. So the more I dug into how I could do this, I kept realizing the similarity of people with bikes like this. And I had that bike for about a year, and then I upgraded to a nice, really big full dresser Harley. And everybody who has a full dresser Harley is making, their upper income, they're the upper echelon of income in our region. They're $30,000 motorcycles. When you've got a $30,000 motorcycle and you have a new seat that you put on it and new handlebars and new exhaust pipes and all the things that people do, a new seat or a saddle is $1,000. Handlebars are $1,200 plus labor. New pipes are an extra $2,500 or $3,000. This is not something that every every person out there can afford. So if I start looking at the socioeconomic platform of who these people are, this is not the bare minimum, street bike. This is somebody who's got, whether they're paying cash or they're paying $500 to $700 a month car payment on a motorcycle, on top of the upgrades and accessories, and then all the gear that goes with it and the riding and the touring and all the things that happen. I started looking at the type of person that did this. And these folks own a home. They're typically married, 1 to 2 cars. They've got a truck and a trailer that they're putting that bike on. These are the people that have the ancillary money or that disposable money to spend on these items, and they have the ancillary lines of business that we can go grab. So they own a home, which means they own 2 cars, which means they have a motorcycle and a trailer. So instead of 1 to 2 policies that we can put in place or 2 exposures, we went to 5 to 6 in a heartbeat, just by targeting people that would buy that Harley Davidson. And we did this through a lot of content. And this is not my idea, but I did execute. But we did a lot through Reddit, and we started putting blogs out there on Reddit on which seats you should buy for this type of bike. What kind of handlebars can you buy for this? And if you're looking at what saddle goes on my 2025 Harley Davidson Road Glide, that means you've got one or you're buying one. And you're going to go spend $700 to $1,000 on that seat. Let me be your insurance person.
I want to dive into this. So what was kind of the thought process around Reddit? Where did that come from? Where did that idea come from?
People go to Reddit and people go to Pinterest to go look for things. And Reddit was it was actually less expensive to put product on there. And if we wanted to advertise, we tried this very little. We didn't have to because there wasn't a ton of content out there. So we would actually go out there, post the content, and it would pixelate that audience, and then we would run ads to that audience. Instead of running ads on Reddit itself to promote that content, we would pixelate the content and then run ads to that audience once they hit it. So it was a custom audience based on people looking at this saddle or these handlebars or what we had to do. So we wrote some content, put it out there, and we're able to do substantially well with it because we knew what they were looking for. This is not the 14-year-old kid who loves motorcycle than is just browsing a website and any content he can consume. This is someone trying to upgrade their bike and trying to find out why.
Interesting. Were you hyper targeting this to your local area, or were you doing this on a national basis?
So we put the content out there on a national basis. It didn't matter from that side. But what we would do is we create that custom audience, and then we do a lookalike audience inside of our geography.
Well, actually, let me play this back, make sure I got you. What I'm hearing is you're creating posts on Reddit about the handlebars or about these very specific add-ons that that people that are buying those add-ons are typically spending a pretty good amount of money on that bike just in general. And then with that post, you're targeting those different types of people, and you're serving them ads outside of Reddit. So were you just using like Google search and such for these, or were you hitting on Facebook, or what did that look like?
It was exclusively Meta.
Okay. Yeah. It is really interesting how, Meta targeting on Facebook and Instagram, how just effective it is for this world in particular. Not to say Google ads aren't, they're expensive, but it is very, very, very effective. Okay, I digress. Okay, so you've found the audience, you're targeting ads at them. What does that ad look like?
So the ad, honestly, if you look at any other major brand or one of the carriers out there that advertises for motorcycle or ATV insurance on that side, it looked very similar. Like, we know you, we're one of you, kind of idea. So we just had content that says, we ride too, trust us. We're a local agency, trust us, right? We're an independent agency based here in Illinois. We know what the winters look like. We know we're itching to ride in the summer. We would do a lot this time of year. I can't wait to get my bike out, make sure your coverage is ready. At the end of the summer, we were running ads that say, we know you want to get one last ride in, make sure you're covered through the winter. So we're talking these things through, just all of that basic stuff on the back end. And, it wasn't complicated.
Were you competing with like a Foremost or Geico on those different ads, and how did you differentiate?
So I'm sure we were, but because we were hitting a custom audience based on people that were already interested, I feel like we were really targeted on it instead of just motorcycle interest. I didn't get every Tom, Dick, and Harry. I got the folks who were interested in this style of bike and this socioeconomic class.
Yeah.
So a guy who buys a $30,000 bike doesn't make $35,000 a year.
Interesting. So, 100%. How did you pixelate that audience? What did that actually, I know we're getting really into the weeds, but I'm super curious on this. How did you actually execute on that? What did that look like?
So they're just going to a blog page that we had, and that blog page had a pixel on it.
Okay, so the post, I got you. Okay,
the post on Reddit was pushing back over
to the blog page.
Correct. Yeah.
And then anybody that clicked on that, so they saw this, you had some write up on the handlebars or how-to guide or something like that, and they clicked on that. You had them pixelated, so now you can retarget it then through Meta.
And they're coming back over to a blog page that's done there. We did the same thing with Pinterest too. So it was all running back to that same blog page that was then pixelated. And that pixel is what created the audience. We created a custom audience from there. And this was before some of the crackdowns with the data in the last year or two that they've really been very, very particular about.
Can you still do it? Is that still possible?
I think so. I don't see why we couldn't. We don't right now, but I'm sure we could.
Okay, so you started running these ads. I'll finally pull us back. So you started running these ads, started to see success on that. How did you then build that? How did you build from there to kind of pull that to the next level? Was that just putting more money into ads, or did you start hitting this on different channels, whether that's trade shows, conferences, whatever that might be?
Really, we did it for a while, and we didn't do it to the greatest success that you might think. But what it did is it got me involved in other areas, and we started being connected with more of the groups and going out for rides and being involved in sponsoring different pieces. We didn't spend a ton of money on the ads, and we didn't spend a ton of money anywhere else. But what we did is we became the people that knew about your motorcycle, and we knew if you had a motorcycle or you had a certain style of bike or been riding for a certain amount of time, you had certain assets that we could be the person. And it almost immediately after that first 9 to 10 months, because we started it in the spring through the first winter. And by the next spring, we actually didn't turn the ads back on because we were already engaged at such a deep enough level with the referral networks inside the groups. We had permeated the groups locally that people are like, hey, listen, McBride does a great job. He writes to, And I had never met most of the people that say I rode, which was the wild part for me.
That is so cool. I mean, I think that so you used the paid ads to get you into the space, and then you're part of the community. It was a natural fit at that point to pass it to you. And everyone's probably going to have this question, like, how do you, like, especially somebody like this, especially if you think of the audience that you're going after, they probably are thinking, like, what should, like, they care about this and they don't want to just get anything on there. Is that fair, or is that a false assumption?
No, I think that's it. I think that the other side of this is, and we didn't do it, but think of the classic car community.
Yeah.
These are people that want insurance on their assets. They might not care about their 2019 Honda Odyssey, but they really care about that 68 Camaro or that 67 Mustang or that Nova or that whatever year model Corvette, because Corvette owners are just fanatical about them. And they're all one of one. Just ask one, they'll tell you. Uh, it's you can go so deep on the classic cars, antique cars, stated value vehicles. You start looking at that side. Those guys are those clients are the folks that want the insurance on purpose. They
Yeah.
want to make sure it's protected. They're looking at the perils. They're looking at the do I get soft hook? And listen, they're all the same carriers. It's just how do you get it in there, right? It's all the American Collectors. It's American Modern. It's Haggerty, right? These are the programs we're all writing anyways. But can you speak their language? Can you show up to an event? Can you talk about their cars? Do you understand the history or the homage that they've paid in their own ways? And I can't as well as some others can. I just love cars. I am an enthusiast when it comes to cars. I'll go look at them, but I can't tell you the story.
Yeah.
Not like I could with a motorcycle for years, and even more so the bicycle industry is really where I came from, because I couldn't ride motorcycles because mom was so deathly afraid of them. So I started riding mountain bikes, and I raced through high school and even up to right before I left for the Marine Corps. I raced mountain bikes across the Midwest, and then when I got out, I did it again. So that was I spent more time in that world than I did anywhere else.
Well, and I want to talk about that because I know that's a focus, and I'd love to hear kind of how you pivoted into, or I wouldn't say necessarily pivoted, but you launched. It's like you built the playbook, and then you're adding on to that playbook with another niche. One of the things that I'm curious about this is how did you operationalize this? Because I'm assuming that this is right about the time your agency really started to grow. How did you start to operationalize this?
Really, it was more understanding what people on a motorcycle wanted. So if we start about that motorcycle side, the bicycle side is very, very easy. And it's the same concept as the motorcycles. If you are a cycling enthusiast, the average bike sold in a store is $1,500 to $2,000 right now. So not the Walmart bikes, not the department store big box bikes, but if you're going to an independent bicycle dealer, you're spending $1,000 almost anytime you walk in the door on a new bicycle. That person owns his home, has a couple cars, active lifestyle. He's engaged in his community. There's a certain number of things that we can assume about them based on those factors. That's the kind of guy I want to insure, right? That's the kind of client we want. Above average income, homeowner with multiple vehicles. Let's start getting those policies in force, exposures in force. Let's increase that. Let's show them a coverage model. Let's show them how we can do personal articles floaters on their bicycles outside of racing or hitting dirt, right? If it's in the back of your truck or in your garage, that personal articles floater will cover it, zero deductibles or low deductibles on something they find so valuable and they're so passionate about. It's a lot less about the coverage on that. So it's just the community there is how we've done that for the bicycle world as we've made that transition. And my history in the sport locally doesn't hurt. But when it comes to how we operationalized or how we moved this in the operation side of our agency, we just trained on coverage. If you have a motorcycle, you've done a couple things to it. Almost everyone I know changed the seat. Almost everyone I know changed the handlebars, the saddles, the bags or the mufflers. Everyone has done this much work. And if you look at a standard motorcycle policy, it has accessories or upgrades coverage, typically at about $1,000. If your default coverage from an 800 number or online has $1,000, and we know that you've changed these three things, typically all of them are $1,000 upgrades, we're just going to move you up. We're automatically going to go, listen, your accessories and upgrades coverage is now, our add-ons and accessories coverage is another $3,000 to $5,000. Yes, we're $10 more. This is why. When we look at safety in your riding apparel, your helmet's a couple $100, your gloves, your sunglasses, your boots, your shoes, your jacket, your vest, any of those pieces for you. Now you put your spouse on the back of the bike, or your significant other. She's got a helmet and gloves and boots and pants and jackets and vests and whatever that case is. You've got thousands of dollars in gear and equipment that if you go down, you're either going to be out of pocket for or the policy pays for. With a very simple sentence, listen, we moved these numbers here intentionally. We know that if you're wearing a helmet, it's going to be a couple $100. But I know you've got boots and gloves on. I know you've got glasses on. You probably have a vest or some sort of jacket to keep, the road rash down or off. But if you want those things replaced or repaired, anything more than a VIN-specific replacement, you have to have these additional coverages.
Yeah.
I had 3 different windshields for my full dresser bike. I was on short rides, something around the home. I had a real small one on there. I wasn't going fast. I wasn't going far. It was fantastic. When my wife and I did 4 and 5 day tours around the country, and we'd get on the bike and go 6,000 miles in a week. We'd be going, gone 7 days, ride 5,500 miles. I put a taller windscreen on the front. I put a bigger tour pack on the back. We had better foot pegs for her and different pieces we added to the bike. If I totaled that bike in Alabama or Tennessee or somewhere riding on the coast, I wanted every dollar I put into that bike back.
Yeah.
That's what we looked at. So we just trained on coverages and why people look at them. It's just like any other coverage you talk about, but why that coverage matters. When you look at condos and loss assessment, there's a reason you max out loss assessment coverage on a condo policy. There's a reason you try to increase those coverages on a motorcycle or toy policy on purpose. People don't want stock. They all customize them, protects their customizations, and you're going to be in a better position than the 800 numbers.
Well, even I'm just thinking about it from a go-to-market perspective. Just having that conversation is going to be totally different. That's probably already going to set you apart in a significant way, like you had mentioned. One of the things I'm curious about is, you now focus really heavily on, as you mentioned, this cyclist community. What did you do differently from your learnings, having gone really deep in the Harley Davidson community, when launching this cyclist focus?
Differently, nothing, which I think was the great part for us, is I personally am involved in that community. Now, whether I sell the personalized policy or not is irrelevant, but if we can get into a community where they care about their assets, they care about their belongings, and they want to have the correct insurance on them. They want to make sure that they're protected. These are things that they've worked for, they've dreamt about, they're passionate about. Let's offer the right protection. Let's build that trusted resource, and let's go on from there. Most of the time, the toy is the door that opens, that's opening for the home and the autos.
Yeah.
We can provide value.
Horse.
It is. Let's just get the door open. Let's show them all the other things we do. Let's just say, listen, I understand how this happens. I've had a bike stolen. I've also, I've had a bike stolen off the back of my truck. Let's talk this through. We've been able to do this in the past. We've watched these claims happen in the past. We know how to insure these appropriately. Now, if you take that bike on dirt, it's not covered while you're riding down a trail. That's not how this works. But if it's stolen off the back of your truck after you're done and you're on the way home, auto insurance only covers so much. Your home insurance is going to be subject to deductible. And is there a sublimit based on the specific item? So let's insure the bicycles appropriately to make sure you're protected. And then we get the home and the auto at the same time.
As you're getting these new clients, is it that it's just from referrals, or how have you done anything else to essentially scale that? Or is it you just going to have to, you are organically, just as you become more a part of the community, more people just refer, and it just creates this network effect?
This one's definitely more community. We're not doing a lot with advertising on it. We're not doing anything advertising wise. Illinois has started a high school mountain bike championship series that will begin, if I'm not mistaken, next school year. So we have kind of gotten in on that side just from my interest and my experience with racing bikes at that age, and going into sponsored racing and all of that through the South and Southwest. I understand what it looks like. I wanted to be engaged and involved at a human level. If my agency might sponsor something, I'm not going to be sad about it. And I'm sure that we'll try to edge out any other agencies that might try to put their name on a jersey. However, really, it's just more being a part of a community. I think who we are as people matters more than anything else. I can get into the classic car community, but there are people who do it really, really well. And I'm never going to be at those track days. I'm not going to be the exotic car guy because I'm not at the track day with a 911. I don't have a McLaren. If you want to gift me one, if you're out there and you're listening and you want to gift me one,
Sure.
I wear a size 720S, right? It doesn't matter the color.
But yeah, what I'm hearing is that essentially follow what you're passionate about. And if you become deep within that community, you're going to want to show up. You're going to want to go to the track. You're going to want to do all those things. It's kind of organically going to come. But you're fortunate in that the communities that you've chosen lend themselves to a client that you really want to target.
Correct. I don't want to say we certainly didn't choose those hobbies. I didn't choose those hobbies because they were great insurable people. I chose those hobbies because I grew up around two-wheel apparatus. I love being on a bicycle. I love being on two wheels. I love forgive the pun here, I love the wind in my hair. I really do like being out there and riding and feeling that sense of freedom. Like, I think for many of us, the bicycle was our first sense of openness, right? It was our first sense of adventure, our first foray away from home into our own little world. And for me, that just kind of carried for such a long time. It was such a passion for so long that when I stopped working in the industry, it really was because it was no longer a passion. I wanted my hobby back. So motorcycles were always just a natural progression for me. And when I got into that world, I just saw, we went to a restaurant. It's kind of a biker bar, not far from us. But when I got there, I just looked around and there was probably 800 or 900 bikes, all of them as nice as mine, or nicer, right? I was relatively new to this, to the community, and I walked in and I sat down. I'm like, this is absolute heaven for an insurance person, right? If I look at every one of these bikes, right, and these are well taken care of. These are people. These are not bikers. They're motorcycle enthusiasts. They're there. They might have leathers on. They might have factory jobs, but they're making above average income. They've got these assets and they want to protect them. If you look at a place like this, if I was going to drop a pin somewhere and start advertising, it would be on those tourist bars or tourist locations that those enthusiasts show up to, as far as advertising to. If I could say, listen, I want to advertise to everyone in this place all summer long. If you visited Poopy's in Savannah, Illinois, I want to insure your home and your autos. And I'll take your motorcycles too, right?
Yeah.
But the amount of impact you can make by just being really good at that, it bleeds, right? And success leaves clues. And if I do really good on your motorcycle, you're like, listen, yes, I'm doing a motorcycle. How hard can car insurance be? Like, not hard, right? When's the last time you upgraded your Honda Odyssey? When's the last time your Chrysler Pacifica got a spoiler and you lowered it, right? Like, these are VIN-specific vehicles. There's not a lot of extra that needs to happen there. But when you can get in, understand the policy and why those coverages matter to a passionate crowd of people, you're going to be all right.
Yeah, the rest follows suit pretty easily. So one of the things, because you've been very successful on these multiple niche markets, you've grown pretty heavily. What are those challenges that you're currently facing?
Outside of pricing and carriers deciding that they're just going to throw grass in the air and see where it lands to figure out their pricing, I think scaling was,
outside of that.
Outside of that, I don't know. I think we're doing great. No, replicating that success and having renewals come from a team that may not have seen that process has been a challenge. Watching our team grow, and we have turned over our staff. We've definitely upgraded some staff. Not to put anyone in the past down, but we've been able to hire staff with either more experience and more capacity to do things at a more efficient rate, which is really what we're all looking for, right? How do we do more with less? So putting some things in place and making sure that our team understands why we did the things when we did them. The idea, right? You love this one television show, and all of a sudden you're on season 4, and you don't know the characters anymore. But it's still the same show. It's just different characters. We're kind of in that. Our customers are accustomed to something. It is what they're looking for. They just have to now beloved these characters in the process we've developed to ensure that still maintains a a high level of expertise. This is what we do with motorcycles. This is why it matters. This is, to hit that loss assessment again. This is why loss assessment matters on condos. There's some very, very specific things with the city of Chicago and habitational risks, which is very interesting, and how the city and how condo associations over 4 stories have to be responsible for anything underground, even if it goes under the roadway. So making sure that they have all these right pieces and varied service lines and understanding coverages in local regions, making sure that knowledge is not just the producer's knowledge and understanding to sell the policy, but then reiterating that on the back end. That's probably been our greatest hurdle with our growth, is making sure that the new hires on the back end see it and understand its importance as much as all of my team on the front end does.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of curious to, I could see that, right? That is tough because you have to have a knowledge transfer, and they often will have the relationship with the producer. So when somebody else comes in, their natural inclination is to default to the person that they know, especially if they don't feel like they're getting everything that they got from the producer. So that makes a lot of sense. I'm curious to pull the thread a little bit on the carrier side. For the carriers that are doing a really good job right now, what are they doing differently?
For the carriers that are doing a really good job right now, what are they doing differently? I would say that the thing that carriers are doing well is those that are adapting to the ease of use. And I know that I'm not the only one beating this drum. Ease of use is the most important thing that we can do. It can't be just about what's good for you, the carrier. It has to be about what's good for the client. Number one, the agency has to be number 2 on that list, because if it's hard for the client, they won't adopt and they won't work for it. But if it's difficult for my team, if I have 2 carriers back to back, and even if they pay dramatically different, I will do business with the one that's easier than the one that's more difficult, because I can sell 2 policies or 1.5 policies, or renew this faster, or work through that renewal process faster than the one that's more difficult. I think that those who are embracing that change are the ones that are doing it right. And this has nothing to do with price, right? I understand profitability. I think if we've been in this business long enough, we know that the carriers have to turn a profit, whatever that looks like. You have to stay ahead of your losses. Fine. Do a great job. Invest smart. Have the right actuaries doing the job, and price your products well. After that, you've got to be the carrier that wants to work with your agents and listen to what they say about how that ease of use is impacting our day-to-day and our everyday. If it takes me 15 clicks, but it should take me 5, stop it. Just stop it.
Well, have you stopped using specific carriers because of that, or only use them or use them less because it didn't meet kind of the table stakes threshold that you have for that?
Yeah, there's specific carriers we walked away from completely, and we have migrated those books. And again, our agencies, we're a relatively young agency, but to make the decision at such a young age to say, listen, we're going to walk away from this because of the difficulty nature. And there are some carriers out there who are really, really easy to work with, and we can get home quotes with, 5, 6, 7 questions, but their rate adjustments have been so erratic, you can't work with them. So there is a blend, and making sure that our team knows what to look at. But we've gone through even certain carriers, and I won't name their names, but we've put moratoriums internally on using certain products or using certain benefits of a product because how it impacts long term, and making sure that our team knows that's a good selling feature. And the carrier is going to tell you this all day long, and they're going to say that's what sets them apart. But when a change happens and you see 3 years worth of rate adjustment happen all of a sudden, that's not good for the client. And it's not good for our relationship with the client.
Yeah.
So making sure that ease of use and ease of doing business is the most important thing I think we can work on right now as an industry.
For sure. I mean, it's of course a super hot topic if you go to InsurTech Connect or if you go to InsurTech Insights, whatever that might be. Always a hot topic. Patrick, last question that I have for you is, you're starting the agency over from day one. is there anything that you would do differently? Now, of course, like you got here by making the mistakes and things like that. But let's just say sold the agency tomorrow, started a new agency, or we're coaching somebody else to start a scratch agency. What would you tell them based on what you would do differently?
So weirdly enough, we say that I actually sat with a friend this last week, and he's in the industry, but he doesn't own an agency. He does a lot inside the marketing space, and has for years. We are planning a kind of a breakout weekend where we're going to lock ourselves in a hotel suite, and we're going to go through and say, okay, we're here. If I were to tear it all down again, how would I adjust what we're doing?
Mhm.
Because we had to build from when you started scratch with zero new customers, and we walked away from a captive that we didn't get to sell it back to them, right? So we started with the money in my savings account, which was clearly enough to get us here. But I think, and I've heard Brandon Flowers has said this before, like I started with what I thought was enough money, and it was nowhere near enough money.
Yeah, that's always the case.
Right.
For sure.
Right. Again, I think if you want to start with a small fortune at the end of the year, you start with a big one. But we started with the money, the savings that was in our account. And we had to look at sales, number one. How do we sell a policy? So number one, marketing. How do we get people to call our phone? Two, how do we sell the policy? And how do we, I guess two really was, how do we follow up and sell a policy? The persistency rate, and how do we continue to drive that close rate? Even if it's not in 2 weeks, even if it's not in 3 to 4 contacts, what if it's 12 or 15? What if it's 40 days later? So that was number two. Number three is once we sell the policy, how do we onboard that client? And then it was, how do we renew the client? If I was going to do it again, it would be number one, how do we have the best renewal experience ever? How do we have the most information available to the customers with the click of a mouse? How do we renew people at a high enough rate or a high enough excellence rate that the rate adjustment that they're going to face is such a small part of the conversation? Second would be, how do we do the policy endorsements and service? How do we maintain a high level of proficiency and speed with doing those endorsements? How much is being done with technology? There's AI and those AI conversations and agentic AI conversations versus virtual employees versus on staff employees. And really it's only one of two ways. Do I have a robot that can do this for me? Or do I have a human? I don't care where that human is in the world or what we pay them. There's only two ways to do that currently. It's either robots or people. That's it.
Yeah.
How do we then service that customer and then back into onboarding? How do we make sure that their transition from where they've been to where they are is brilliant? And then we can back into the sales side. So when you're scratched, you have to sell, right? And I think everyone talks about this. When you start, you're going to sell everything, and then you're going to narrow your focus and you're going to say no to a lot more. There's a lot of clients that come to us today. If you're a 6-month auto and you're only a monoline auto and you've had a gap in insurance, you're a minimum pay in full on a 6-month policy for us, period.
Yeah.
The likelihood that you cancel next month because you want your money back is slim because most of those clients don't think about it. I'll sell it, but only if you're going to pay in full.
Yeah.
And we have enough business coming in. I don't need that premium to make payroll next month. It's a want, not a need. So starting at the back end, I would look at the renewals first, then service, then onboarding, and then I would back into sales and marketing on that side. If you can do those things well, year 2 and year 3 and year 4, it makes year 1 and year 2 worth it.
Well, it's so true. These businesses, especially when you're going scratch, it's not till year 5 where you really start making any type of meaningful money, even if you're crushing it, because so much just goes into that acquisition cost. And if they're falling out on the back, I mean, they're some of the best businesses that are out there, period. It's why private equity salivates over them, because of a strong renewal process. So that makes total sense. Patrick, this was a blast, man. I appreciate you coming on. I was excited for this, and you delivered on what I was excited about. So thank you again for coming on.
You're absolutely welcome, man. And I think if you'll notice, I don't think you have my cell phone number either. So just to kind of bring this full circle,
I don't give anybody my cell phone number anymore.
Nobody gets my cell phone number. Yeah. That's really not true. I give it out like it's candy, but just not to customers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. Awesome, Patrick. Yeah. Thanks for coming on, brother.
Yeah, absolutely, Cal. Thanks for having me.